I practice gender-neutral parenting, which means I'm using they, them pronouns for my infant until they're old enough to let me know what pronouns they want to use, and generally try to use gender-neutral language and let them wear and play with and do whatever feels right to them. My child is 5 months old right now, so what feels right to them is mostly putting their own toes in their mouth.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to react to this new laws. I think they're laws, they're happening. It's a law in California where you can take children away from their parents if they do not affirm their child's gender identity. What? And they're talking as little as 5-year-old kids. What is happening with this trans activism nonsense? That has nothing to do with being trans. That in itself is child abuse. To take away a child from a family that's loving and caring, how do you know what's going on in that family? And how dare you interpret these things as abusive? Abuse should be specifically relegated to mental abuse, physical abuse. There are kids out there who are suffering in bad families who that's what CPS needs to be concentrating on. Not because you're not going to affirm your child's gender at 5. This has gotten so out of control. That's a slippery slope. When you start having the government get involved with your children and what you can and cannot do with them, you better be prepared for other things to start to change. This is nonsense. So before I move forward, I want to let you know that I appreciate you so much, and it means a lot to me that you like, subscribe, and my channel is growing like mad, and I can't do it without you. And, doing these videos, it is difficult, but I know I have passion for this because I care about these young kids growing up to be able to make their own choices, and we should never be making these choices for kids. So with that, again, thanks so much. And so I picked out 3 videos here that I'll react to that are just so absurd. And then, anyway, I'm going to do this first one here.
So this particular bill adds the very important factor that affirming a child's gender identity is in their best interest, which is what your question is about. Why does it actually say that in an affirmative way? And it really is because if you have a 7-year-old who's talking about having a potential to say, being able to articulate that they believe that they are not the same gender as they are biologically, then it should be affirmed. And through care, it should be determined. And that's what we did with our own child. And that would give the ability for a parent who wasn't sure to affirm and get their child the care that they need to make that, so they can begin to articulate that determination. But by saying and rejecting it in wholesale, then you're essentially rejecting your child.
No, you're not.
That is not in the best interest of a child. So we should be affirming our children in every possible way. And getting them whatever appropriate care they need, whether it's based on their gender, whether it's based on how their studies are in school, it doesn't matter. Our children should be affirmed. And this is saying that you have to include gender affirmation as a part of that.
Wow. Because you affirmed your child. So wait a minute here. This person who is, I think, on the board of some California State Assembly, she affirmed her child. Her own child is probably trans. So now, that doesn't... Oh my God. You cannot affirm everything a child says. That's what she's saying. She's saying affirm everything a child says. So if we're going to listen to this woman, if your child says they're a dinosaur, you better affirm it. The reason we don't affirm when a child says they're a dinosaur, because that's not true. And you can't affirm that, because that is just, you're not being real with your child. So if your little 7-year-old Susie is saying that they're Tommy, okay, whatever, dude. Be Tommy for a little while. Who cares? But to actually change everything about them at 7 to affirm them is actual child abuse as far as I'm concerned. That is actually insane. So remember, if you don't affirm your child as a dinosaur, they're going to take your child away. That's how I read it. So I'm going to do this next one that when I found it, I was like, here we go. Here's one of the problems. So watch this.
Why not just take your child's assigned sex at birth and assume that that will be their gender, and then just let them know if it's not, you'll support them when they come out? This is a question I get asked a lot. And for those who are new to this channel, I practice gender-neutral parenting, which means I'm using they, them pronouns for my infant until they're old enough to let me know what pronouns they want to use, and generally try to use gender-neutral language and let them wear and play with and do whatever feels right to them. My child is 5 months old right now, so what feels right to them is mostly putting their own toes in their mouth. But yeah, we definitely considered raising River as their assigned sex at birth. But we didn't decide to do that for a number of reasons. For one thing, somebody's assigned sex may not actually fit into the binary that people are often used to, right? Like intersex people exist. But also, we talked to other people who raised children gender neutral. We took some classes, we did some thinking about it, and we decided the best way to let our child just be a child was to practice gender neutral parenting. Because even if you do a great job
let me say
encouraging
something. I can't listen to the whole thing because it's just the same stuff. First off, they're using all that language. Secondly, 5 months. 5 months old. Now, let me show you the hypocrisy here. So you want to raise your child however you want to raise your child, friend. You go right ahead because that's what you can do in this country. But you are now subjecting other people to your idea of how parenting is. How dare you? What if we turn the tables on you? What if we say, no, that's child abuse to not give your child a gender, to not tell your child that they're a boy, and it's not assigned gender at birth. You are stealing that language from intersex people, and you're constantly using intersex people as your argument. Intersex people are not trans, and every intersex person I know will tell you that. They are not trans. They have nothing to do with trans. So your child is not assigned anything. They are observed, and that's what they are. And so remember what I just said here. We can flip your own narrative on top of you, and we can pass a law that would actually give us the right to take your child away from you because we deem it as child abuse. See how that works? So this next one I wanted to show you because I want to show you the other side. Okay, these two first ones were telling you, you have to affirm your child, whatever they say, you got to do it. If you don't do it, it's child abuse, blah, 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 blah. Now, let me show you somebody whose gender as a child, okay, whose gender choice, not their actual gender, but their gender choice at 13. Look what happened when we let a 13-year-old make complete, total adult choices for themselves because we did not let adults enter into the equation and say, hold up here, kiddo. No, 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 no. That's just not true. You can't change your sex. No adult was allowed to enter this child's space and tell them to slow down. So look what happened.
Started when I was 12 years old. I started calling myself a boy and by the name Leo after years of going through an early puberty, of struggling with body image issues, with being a tomboy, and frankly, normal feelings that a lot of girls and women experience while they're growing up. I was afraid to grow into a woman, and I thought that I would be happier if I were born as a boy. And my doctors, instead of pushing back against this, instead of questioning this and helping me through these feelings, enabled me to make decisions that would affect the rest of my development. At just 13 years old, I was fast-tracked onto the path of a medical transition, starting with puberty blockers. Just a few months later, they put me on testosterone. And at just 15 years old, I went through my first and only surgery, a double mastectomy to remove my breasts. I realized less than a year later that I really was a woman, that I was very feminine, that I had a maternal instinct, and I wanted to have children and a family of my own. And by going through all of this, especially so young, it potentially could have taken away all of that from me. And I made the very difficult decision to detransition. And since I was 17 years old, I've been speaking out against this.
The most depressing story. Chloe happens to be a friend of mine. She's the sweetest, most awesome human. What she went through was what this whole thing is about. Because you pushed on her to tell her she could be a boy, which was a complete, total lie. And it's why you continue to hide detransitioners, because y'all know what you're doing is sick and wrong. No child can make this choice. 5 months old? What? Get it together, trans people, trans activists. You are destroying something we have had for a long time in a good space and able to move forward. I'm clearly part of that. It has done wonders for me, but now people are coming after me, okay, saying that what I did is gross and wrong. All because of you bringing children into this space and now trying to take them away from parents. Shame on you. Thanks so much for watching. I totally appreciate you. You all know that I very much appreciate you. Don't forget, I have my lives every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. I enjoy them very much. We're really creating a great community there where we can have these discussions and push back on this ideology. Okay, have a beautiful day, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.